Today we are talking to the absolutely fabulous, amazing, gorgeous Marissa Burgess. She is a theatrical superstar. Hello Marissa, I am so excited to have you on my show today. I am so looking forward to listening to your story and your journey into this amazing world.
It's really fun to be here with, look at us dressed in red.
Oh, this is incredible. Today I'm celebrating red and the French experience that you've had. I would love to know a little bit more how you actually got started.
Well, that's going back. How far would you like to go?
Well, take us back to where it all began and what inspired your journey.
I guess the whole inspiration from a very young point was costumes, dancing and costumes, and so everything sort of led on from there. I got baptized when I was 9 and I demanded my mother, not only did I design my own gown, but I demanded she put on crystals all over my baptism. So the writing was kind of on the wall, and I was a dancer and I was always wanting to express myself physically. I loved music and I would dance all around the house all the time. Once again, Mum said, could you stop moving just for 2 seconds, please? So yeah, that just rolled on into other things.
You have been a French sensation. Tell me a little bit about this Moulin Rouge experience.
Well, as a young dancer, you always sort of get ready for shows, and you know we get very good at becoming groomed and dancing up a storm, and that just naturally led on to a showgirl and dancer career. Very serious dancing and also very serious costuming. So those are the two things I really love, and that brought me to the Moulin Rouge.
So the piece that you're wearing today is quite interesting. Tell us a little bit about where that costume came from.
It's actually a cocktail dress. It's sort of in a flapper design, so it's a 20s, but it's a bit of a modern take on it. It's silk, of course. This is silk chiffon, this is silk. And a friend of mine, designer, gave it to me, Gary Yang, and it's the first time I'm wearing it today, so I'm really happy that you also brought your reds.
Well, red is such a powerful colour. It actually makes me feel super confident. It's one of my signature colours, actually.
Me too. I only started using red when I went blonde. I wasn't a natural blonde when I was a kid. I was a natural blonde, and then I lost all my blonde hair when you cut it, you know, when you're about 10. I grieved my blonde hair, and as soon as I could get it back, I did. And ever since then, suddenly all this red came into my wardrobe.
And tell us a little bit more about your the piece that you're wearing around your neck. I mean, that's definitely a showgirl.
It's nothing but a
showstopper.
A little bit of bling. Got to have a little bit of bling. Just something I found.
Absolutely.
I'm actually going to convert it into a costume. It's probably never going to be seen in this way again because I'm going to put it on a hat one day.
So your lucrative career spans quite a few decades. To be able to get to such a position, you would have had to have a mentor to lead and guide you. Who was that person that was so pivotal in your life?
It's been a consecutive team of people, really. I always sort of say that I was brought up by big hands. All the people in my childhood, whether it be my grandfather, my mother, my dance teacher, you know, these were monumental people who really wielded my character, you know, and then that in turn brought me to being a hardworking person, dedicated to detail and very observant. And then the people, you know, firstly with my sister, obviously, because she was 5 years older than me, and she started in this career 5 years before me, and she did very, very well as a model and a dancer in Paris, and I looked up to her, of course, straight away from when I was very small. And then once I got into Paris, there was just a constant succession of people who were inspiring me, whether it be the star of the show at the time when I was a young rookie in the line, or whether it be, I don't know, like a supermodel like Isabella Rossellini. or just the people around me in other shows. So we were like a big family with all the shows, the Leader, the Crazy Horse, the Moulin Rouge, the Folie Bergère, the Paradis Latin, and we all knew one another, and we'd all look up to one another, and little blue-notes to me, they were looking up to me as well as I was sort of hitting my marks.
Oh, that sounds absolutely amazing. I'm so inspired by the story that you're sharing. Now, you're not just a theatrical superstar. You are also a singer as well. You perform and you produce. I mean, where do you find time to do all of this?
I don't have enough time. I need to clone myself out. I need to find that clone machine, because I could get so much more done if I could just find another 3 people like me. But dancing was my basic discipline, and then just in the artistic world, you're surrounded by so many interesting people. In the Moulin Rouge, it's where I was for so long. You've got people coming from musical theatre and out. You've got people coming from the ballet world and in and out. People coming from modelling in and out. And we sort of all collide in Paris. It's a wonderful, wonderful sort of creative hub that we have there. And so you start to sort of think, oh, maybe I could try this and maybe I could try that. And then eventually, for example, singing was the thing I chose to train myself in, and I did 7 years training in Paris in singing. So I thought, well, when my body starts to hurt too much, that's what I'll go on to next. And so that's what I did. And then by the same token, being a singer in shows turned into other things. And then I found myself being asked to produce the dancers that surround me on stage, and therefore I thought, well, I can do that, no troubles. I'd never done it before, but I was trusted enough to just bring along a production of dancers, and then that led into other things. And so now I'm doing corporate production of dancers and singers and circus artists, and it's just a wonderful big family, and worlds collide, and all these things come together, and we have access to everything, so we may as well just all keep working together.
So where do you draw your inspiration when you go into your production role? Where does that actually come from so that you can create these masterpieces?
The clients usually have a pretty good brief, and if they don't, they ask me, what would you do in this situation? And heaven forbid they do that, because then I go crazy. But often they've got a pretty solid brief, and because I've spent my whole life just acquiring knowledge about my business, because I'm passionate about my industry, I've just been storing stuff in the back of my mind since I was a very small child, and it's funny when they just say one word, sometimes I just go, hang on a moment, rummage in my head, and go, I think I have something for you, and I can pop things out pretty quickly. And I just think that's a perfectly normal, natural state of being, but I guess that is another skill set that I have, that I'm able to draw upon this stock of great memories I have, whether it be stuff I've worked in myself or my friends have, because my friends are very passionate people like myself, and they share a lot with me, and I get on board with what they're doing, and the movies, hey.
Now, my career spans 3 decades in fashion, so one of the things that really inspires me about you is you get on the sewing machine too.
Yes.
And you whip up those costumes.
I do now. Once again, very observant as a kid. My mother was a sewer. She used to make my costumes, and I'd just watch. And then my dresser, my long-term dresser, and I don't even like to say the term dresser, but she was technically the dresser assigned to me, as the principal at the Moulin Rouge has their own dressing room and their own dresser, and her name is Marie-Claire, and she really became my surrogate mum. So for 12 to 14 years we sat in the same little cubicle together, and she was a couturière. So she was a sewer for Jean-Louis Cherrer, which is a couture brand in Paris. And every day she used to work 2 jobs. She was dressing me at night, and during the day for an 8-hour shift she was a sewer at a French fashion house. And so at night she'd bring in sort of certain articles. She was a specialist draper. So her drapé was her thing, and she would bring in small sections, portions of these unbelievable gowns that they were working towards for the collections. And she would do them right in front of me, and I'd just simply watch. And I guess after a while you just learn just from watching. She'd do so much just right in front of my eyes. She'd bring in fabrics which was $200 a meter type laces or whatever, and she'd just start cutting right into them. No patterns needed. She knew what, very, very experienced seamstress.
That's amazing.
So, lots of people around.
Amazing experience to actually live and work in Europe, Paris. It's always been a dream of mine as well.
It's a hot house, for sure.
Now tell me, what makes you jump out of bed in the morning? What is your passion?
It's more about what keeps me up at night, actually, because jumping out of the bed is something I don't do in the morning. But staying up very late at night is something I do a lot, and it's usually because I'm blinging something or sewing something or creating something. If I've had a hard day sort of just doing paperwork or office work and it's boring, I've got to have a creative moment throughout the day, and that might just be, I don't know, making a cake or baking something beautiful or making something beautiful, but somewhere I have to create something in every single day. And if I'm working on a creation, well, then that's great, the two combine. But if I'm not working, I'll simply make something. And usually at night, I've got a room where I'm sewing and I'm creating, and as I shut the door, it's usually about midnight, I shut the door on my creation and I just give it a last little look, and I'm happy, and I go to sleep very comfortable. And then I usually go back and have a look at it again.
We must be kindred spirits. That's exactly what happens to me as well. I do need a creative outlet every single day.
You have to. It's like a need.
It sort of feeds my soul.
And if you don't do it, you start to feel like you're withering away.
But if I have too much creativity, then the paperwork doesn't get done.
It's a problem.
Now, to actually get to the level of stardom that you have achieved, there would have been some pivotal people that would have taken you on this journey. Who have those people been?
It's the people who trusted me, my producers, my choreographers, my friends, my colleagues. And so, for example, my choreographer, Burgess, he was for a long time my mentor. Now, he was a Michael Jackson dancer, and in the video clip Beat It, which I grew up watching, so it was freakish when I finally met him. I didn't actually know that about him at the time. And then he choreographed for Diana Ross, and he became somebody who, with just a few simple words, put me on the right way, gave me confidence to continue doing what I was doing and maybe up the ante. And he had a really eloquent way of just providing and instilling this following your instinct attitude that I became to. I sort of got into the way where that would become my norm. Following the instinct became the normal way, and very much trusting what you feel and hear inside your head. Choreographer, and if not the producers, who gave me these great roles to perform and trusted me when I didn't trust myself. I had zero confidence when I started out, and so I figured if they trust me, then I ought to trust myself. And also, for example, my one of my mentors, without her even knowing it, was this older star of the show. When I was just starting out, I would just observe her. I was like a stalker, and I'd just watch everything she did, and she didn't even realize I was doing this, but I was learning and trying to understand just how do you get that fabulous as she was to me. And one time she was teaching me her role, and I couldn't bring myself to do this particularly difficult trick in front of her. I thought I was going to fail in front of her and be embarrassed. And I just sort of wish she'd go out for a while I practice it and she could come back and see it. But she said to me, I said, I don't think I can do it. She said, of course you can. Like this, she kind of snapped at me a little bit. And I felt like, I remember that day specifically because I felt like not only I was wasting her time, I was wasting everybody's time, and especially I was wasting my time. And that day cracked in me, and I stopped doing that silly thing that made me stop what I was growing into. And she pushed me over that little line that day.
Amazing, isn't it?
It's really full on for me as a growth spurt.
Wow, and that's what we need to actually get to the other side, don't we?
Sometimes you need to be just kicked.